hopefully wrap up the necessary steps.
Like this might be the last meeting.
This might be the last meeting if we can get through.
Because
yeah.
we want to be.
That's zoning. We still have our July.
Okay, the last zoning
We
meeting.
want to get.
Yes. So we, in our prep meeting, we talked about, if we can get through the. What needs to be decided on, we don't have to have a zoning meeting. If we don't, then we have to have a zoning meeting in addition to the July. Meeting. All right, so we believe we want to start by reading the vision statement. That's the first step. Oh, introductions, we do introductions.
I'd like to know who's in. On our little panel over there with me. No,
Over
I
here?
know who they are.
Oh,
I
right.
don't know who they are.
Oh, yeah, we'll open the public comments. In a few
Okay.
minutes.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
So do we want to first approve the agenda?
Approve it, yes. So everybody should have a copy of the agenda. All right, so if I can have a motion to approve the agenda.
So
Second, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Bye.
Aye. All those opposed? Agenda has been approved.
and then public comment. Or next.
Let's open it up for public comment. We can start with the gentleman here. Introduce yourself. and-
Can I go first?
Of course, yes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Tracy Hohen. Thank you for letting me speak this evening. I am here to ask for your consideration and recommendation for a zoning change for 7489 Marley Road. Currently, we own the ugliest piece of property in a 10-mile radius. It is only a contractor's yard for storage and equipment. It has no aesthetic beauty and no community function. My greatest wish is the next time a resident or property owner calls my office and asks me to please do something better, with your help, I can tell them that we are. I've done a little research, and if I lived in one of those brand new, beautiful 1,000+ homes, to get gas, it would take 7 to 10 minutes. To get coffee, 10 to 15 minutes. I personally could not survive that. To get dry cleaning, 15 minutes. Convenience stores, there aren't any, it's all inconvenient, 7 to 10 minutes. And a pharmacy is 10 to 15 minutes away. You have a child that's sick in the middle of the night, that's just not gonna work. And very concerning is that there are no daycares. There are approximately 6 in-home daycares, but they're so limited in size. I know that there's a local church trying, but to date, they have been unsuccessful. And these are all needs that I can potentially fill. We're all battling so much traffic right now that together we can at least do some small help to a growing section of our county by allowing me to provide the service that they want and need. They're calling me on a regular basis, asking me to please clean up that property and make it something useful. And I want to do that. So tonight I'm asking you to please support 7489 Marley Road to change to C3. And I really love C4, but I'm just asking for C3. So thank you very much.
Good evening, Phil Hager of Hager Land Use. I'm here this evening to support Tracy in her request for C3 for the particular property that she just mentioned. I think the reasons are obvious. There is a clear need that we have the commercial property in the area to support the significant number of residential properties that have been built in the last few years and those that are still on their way. The property right now is not immediately contiguous with any other commercial property. However, when you look at it closely, it's isolated on one side by community association property, so nothing can happen there. Then there's a piece of property that's owned by CSX. And I don't know if any one of you have ever tried to deal with the railroad, but nothing happens in a decade or more just to say hello. So it's unlikely that we're likely to see a change in that property. But immediately on the other side of that, there's a significant amount of commercial property. So it's not like we're creating an island here in this area. Also, it fronts an arterial. So I think it's a pretty significant need that we're trying to address. It's a particular piece of property that absolutely makes sense since it has immediate access directly on this arterial. And it's in, as Tracy articulated, it's within minutes of a significant amount of people who really do need to have some type of services. And her arguments about traffic are correct. If you can keep some of these cars off the road, all transiting all the way to where some of those services are located, instead of something that's in their neighborhood, I think that's also likely to be a good thing overall for all of us. So I encourage you to support this request for this particular change. And I think that the neighbors of the area will thank you later for it. Thank you.
You have a public. I mean, I spoke last week. If you want me to do again? Okay. All right. Okay, the first issue is parcel 11, which is off of Solid Road by Energy Parkway, which was W2 when I got it. Then they changed the zoning to R10, which it doesn't fit who's beside me, which is a contractor's yard. So R10 won't do me any good at all. So I got a piece of land that's absolutely useless to me because nothing along that strip on that front side is residential, except once you get further down, everything comes out on the Canyon Springs side. So I'm asking if I could get that changed to W2 so I could get some use out of it. The other one is 7464 East Furnace Ranch Road, which has been a car lot since the last 30 plus years, which is C3 non-conforming. I just want to get so that I fit the criteria, which I have road use and highway use in front of me and behind me. So I want to fit the criteria to that. And the piece that's beside it, I would like to get that from C3 to C4 because everything heading, I would say north of me, they've been changed, but me, I'm the only two that haven't been changed. So I would like to get changes to C4 if possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you remind me your name one more time for the record?
Michael Matthews.
Thank you.
And the first property said it's parcel 11.
Yes, parcel 11. It has no address. Yep, right beside Conrad Bittinger Construction.
Do you know what the tax map is for that?
Yes, it is, what was it? Wrong one? 11.
Tax map 11, parcel 11?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Anyone from online?
So let's go ahead and continue forward. This is where we're going to start with the vision statement, right? For our discussion.
Yeah, do you want to read it for us?
Oh, we're gonna all stand together.
Mess up, get start over.
Am I reading it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I thought so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm just going to share this before you
you have to do.
Yeah, memorize it.
Yeah.
It's so short, so
See
you
if
can
you-
memorize it.
Memorize. That's it.
Sorry about
Okay. Region 3 is an adaptive community network which balances the economic, social, and environmental needs of the residents. All people can attain desirable housing, earn a decent living, and enjoy a healthy natural environment with diverse opportunities for education, recreation, entertainment, and social engagement. Businesses serve the community and enrich its network of goods and services. Convenient, affordable public transportation and safe biking and walking paths are available modes of transportation, offering green options to mitigate the effects of climate change. Plans for development are transparent to the public with opportunities for public engagement. Residents are happy to live here and feel a sense of belonging to the larger community.
Yeah, and this is the vision statement that the group approved a few meetings back, and it does kind of help set the tone for all of the things that we're gonna be putting together with this plan really should help reinforce this vision for this region. So if we can dive in to, I want to take us to the Queenstown community of Severn. And we'll hopefully finish out the Severn community tonight and then move on to the rest of the region. And we're actually going to give ourselves timed times to try to get through each of these geographic pieces of the region. So if we hear an alarm go off, that's what that is.
I could also, so when everybody back to the map view, found it, so if you have your computer, the map view shows sort of the details for the proposals that were submitted. And then we just want to acknowledge also the work that OPC has gone through in making their recommendations, the factors that it takes into consideration, including Plan 2040, and the other factors, right? So let's review that first, right? Then have a discussion if we want to kind of alter it from those plans. There's a lot of work that's been done to make sure that it falls in line with those plans.
Yeah, I think that's really important to have it aligned with 24.
Yeah, because we don't want to do anything that's separate from.
No.
And agreed, and where it doesn't align, there's a reason for that, and we will point that out and get your thoughts on that. So the Queenstown area is just to the west of Porterfield Crossing Shopping Center, and you can see it on the screen here. This area is probably the most difficult area for us of the Region 3 region, and I'll tell you why. Primarily the area is within the neighborhood preservation development policy area. There is some critical economic development policy area on all of that purple and red, so the industrially zoned and commercially zoned areas on the right side of your screen there. This is a historically Black community, and we had a community meeting, a virtual community meeting with folks from the Queenstown area, I think a little bit beyond just this area. So some folks from this area and some folks from the area to the west, but they are very interested in kind of maintaining their low density residential character, and they are really proud of the history of that area. And they do have concerns with traffic impacts if all of that industrial area that you see in purple is actually developed as industrial, because that area is accessed only by Queenstown Road, which is the tiny 2-lane road that you see right there. So all of that is background. That industrial zoning was applied decades ago in the 1980s. And it largely, though, hasn't really transitioned into being well utilized as industrial area. We have a couple of properties that are developed as in industrial use, and then a lot of that area remains in residential use. A key issue here, though, is the airport noise zone, which is all of that hatched area right there. We had a conversation with Baltimore, Washington airport planners, and those noise zones actually reflect a proposed extension of the runway to the south, which is going to bring the runway closer to this area. It's going to amplify the noise issues that are already existing. All of the existing noise sensors that they have around the airport, of all of them, the one on Jones Road, which is right in the middle of that industrial area, is currently registering the loudest noises in the Baltimore, the BWI region. So all of that said, the airport would be interested in seeing everything that is within this noise zone rezoned to something that is commercial or industrial zone. We've visited this area though, and there are houses. These are low density houses. It is a low density neighborhood. People are living there as we speak, and they want to maintain that character. And so it's a tough area. I mean, we're very cognizant of the ways that planning has been used in other communities and even in our community in the past to do unfortunate things to marginalized and minority communities in the past. We don't want to repeat that, but at the same time, it is the airport is where it is and the expansion is proposed for this area. And these noise contours have been in place for quite a long time. I think I want to just kind of bring all of that to your attention right now. I want to actually do a mail out to all of the residential properties that are within the noise zones here and have a meeting with them and start to talk about some of the pros and the cons. We did have a wider community meeting, but it involved people from all over Queenstown. I want to have a very targeted, focused group, and I kind of want to hear what they have to say and maybe bring that back to you at a future time. So I just wanted to kind of lay it out there, get it on the record that this is a thing that we're working through, and it's a very difficult area because I don't know how to, I don't know the right, there's no one right answer to this area.
So how much noise are we talking about? Is like unbearable, like all day noise, or is it?
Yeah, when the planes are taking off and landing, and they have programs to help retrofit existing homes that are within these noise zones, but those to qualify, you have to be zoned residential. So that's only those that are in the yellow areas there. They do have a voluntary acquisition program, but you have to be zoned in, you have to be a residential use and zoned in a commercial or industrial zone. So all of those homes that are in the yellow there would not qualify for that currently. These are the things I kind of want to talk to those folks about. And just get
it's really important. I was at a town hall meeting for this area, included Queenstown, and there was an entire contingent from Queenstown that were very passionate about where they live. And so I think it's really important to those people and then the people in the yellow area to get their input on it. It's be a huge impact on them.
Patrick, as we do that and have those conversations, are there also conversations happening with authorities such that much like national zealots where they may change times of day or flight patterns and certain things that might be considered?
We've had conversations with the planners. I can't say that we brought that specifically up about changing time of day and whatnot. We got more information from them about what their master plan is, which is kind of reflected in these contours here and the proposed extension, and it's kind of what they see that they need for the operation of the airport and expansion in the future. Elsewhere in Queenstown though, so we do have one application up there on Jones Road. That is application number SBN 0003. And it is, in gray there. That is currently zoned W1. They had requested W2 in the area. And I will say there is a need broadly in the county for more W2 zoning. In this area, however, the OBZ staff is recommending right now to maintain the W1 zoning as it is currently on that property. That's consistent with the surrounding W1 zoning on Jones Road there. And we do have a couple of other staff recommended changes. There's a good bit of kind of cleanup of the zoning to the, if you'll kind of pan to the west there. We are recommending, so up to, is that I think it's Sawmill Creek, in the green there, more or less. So that open space zoning sort of follows Sawmill Creek. So yes, that area SBN 0100, we're recommending all of that change to R2. That's outside of the noise contours, but it kind of cleans up and unifies that R2 zone south of the creek, and then maintains the R1 zone to the north of the creek. And then just other consistency changes that we are pretty sure about, just kind of cleaning up like that C4 zone on the left there, bringing that to the road, and a number of other just kind of consistency changes that fix some of the alignment issues of zoning, making them align with parcel lines. So that's what we know right now, and I'm right at spending 10 minutes on Queenstown. So I think the broader question about do we want to propose either expanding industrial zoning to encompass some of those residential properties, hold the industrial zoning as it is now. I want to talk to those property owners and get that input. But we do have a recommendation for SBN 003, and then that one on the left there below Sawmill Creek, our recommendation to bring that area to R2.
So the first one with the parallelogram, that stays C1, I mean,
W1,
W1.
that's our recommendation at this point.
And the other one would be.
Bringing that to R2.
R2, oh, yeah.
It's kind of split, all of those are split zoned right now, so we're just applying R2 to all of that.
Are you cutting into a green? It wasn't.
It follows the property line.
You see.
All right.
I'm supportive of the R2. On this. And 003.
Yeah, so OPC's recommendations, hold as is. And afterwards.
The
0100.
Yeah.
Oh.
zero.
You see,
I thought you were saying the other one. I'm like,
it's mostly R2 right now. Already. So it's kind of clean up.
Yep.
Okay.
one thing you didn't, I don't know if you
Any-
mentioned about 0003 is Jones Road is a very small road as well, and there's a lot of truck traffic already from the W2 up to the north, which is a tree it's a tree service, and so there's been complaints from the neighborhood. I mean, it is industrially zoned now, but it is largely still residential, so kind of bumping it up to W2 might allow more truck traffic. It might allow heavier industrial uses that would impact that road and that neighborhood. So that's sort of why we decided W1 for now. But that's kind of our thing.
Any further discussion before we go to a vote? So right now, the recommendations on the table are to keep 00002. 003, keep that one.
W1.
And to keep 002, sorry, make 002.
0100.
0100, yeah.
Sorry.
The other one.
001.
Bring it all into R2.
Ready for a vote? All those in favor of accepting the lease's recommendations on those two properties? Those opposed? Stay.
Okay, but you live in that area. Oh, okay.
Real estate agent.
Okay, gotcha.
You vote online?
No, I think no SAC numbers on
No, okay.
online this.
Okay. All right.
All right. From here, we'll move over to the Glen Burnie Town Center area. And I've got 30 minutes on the clock for us to get through this. So we can do it. All right, big picture in this area. So in past conversations, we've talked about, where can we have more housing and more density? And I really think this is kind of the key area in the region. It's the Plan 2040 had placed the town center in what's called the Town Center Development Policy Area. That was all the brown that was just turned off there. And that extended from the very center outward, both north and south on Ritchie Highway, and then up and down Baltimore Annapolis Boulevard and Crane Highway. The Plan 2040 placed areas north along Route 2 into the critical corridor development policy area. That is not a targeted growth area, only the town center development policy area is. There is the hatched area there, that's an overlay development policy area, and it's the transit-oriented development policy area, and that's applied to the Cromwell station, and then it bleeds over onto all the way down to 7409, which is kind of a large property right there that is county owned, and we're going to talk a little bit specifically about it because there's the county has an RFP out now for some potential development on that property, so we have some recommendations for that. So
And just to get bearings on the colors here, just the critical corridor that Patrick was talking about is this kind of darker gray, purple, and then this orange right here is the town center, as it currently is for the development policy.
yeah, and then very clearly, all of the other kind of stable residential neighborhoods, those are all neighborhood preservation. That's that kind of beige color that is everything else. And we don't have a lot to say about that because we're not really proposing a lot of changes in those areas. So first, I'm going to start kind of big picture with the policy area changes that we're recommending. We took a look at the town center development policy area that you see here, and we're actually recommending reducing the town center to the north. So we have Georgia Avenue right there. And the area to the north of that is it's a little bit more auto-centric, auto type of development. We felt like it makes sense to cut off the town center development policy area there and bring that area more into the I think we were saying into the critical corridor development policy area as a base policy area, and then applying the new, we had talked about the corridor revitalization and redevelopment overlay. This is a new policy area overlay that was adopted with Region 2's plan. So I think they've applied it over in the Laurel area. It's something that can be applied to all of the what we call our commercial revitalization areas. This is it's another planning designation that opens up some different zoning flexibility and some economic development programs. So there are places along this corridor where that is applied and it's not in a targeted growth area. So if we can apply this corridor revitalization and redevelopment development policy area overlay onto those areas, that brings those areas into the targeted growth area and sort of opens up a little bit more flexibility and might promote some redevelopment area. So that is DPA-GBN-0100. That is that change that we're recommending to kind of reduce the town center policy area and then apply those that overlay policy area. That is change number 1004, 1005, 1002. Those are several kind of areas around the edges of that align with the existing commercial revitalization areas.
I really got lost.
Yeah, it was a lot.
What does
I
that
don't-
really?
It's a lot.
Can you
What do you
like
mean by-
simplify it a little bit so that, or like summarize it? or
Yeah, so the areas that you see here in the dashed lines here,
something?
that we're proposing to remove from the town center development policy area. And put that into the critical corridor development policy area. So that takes it out of the targeted growth area, but the portions of this area that are within a commercial revitalization, that's a zoning overlay. We are recommending to apply that new policy area overlay to those areas to align that and bring those into the targeted growth area. And it all has to do with the way that the existing area is kind of developed more for auto oriented uses. We have, car dealerships and I think there's some gas stations and drive-throughs, but otherwise, it's kind of a different character currently than the rest of the town center down here, and so we
So
wanted
it
to,
transform from an auto or focused one to what?
it's
It
gonna,
would stay.
yeah,
It would
Plan
stay like
2040
that.
had placed it in the
It would
town
stay like
center policy area, and we felt like it's a little bit different than the areas to the south.
So what does it take away when you take away the town center?
It takes it out of the targeted growth area, but then we're putting it back in the targeted growth area by applying that new zoning overlay or a new
What is the end- what
policy
is the-
area.
The end, what's it look like in the end? I mean, are you taking taking away the town center, are you getting rid of more housing and leaving it? I mean, I don't.
This is,
We don't know these policies.
this is a policy area designation, so it's not zoning in and of itself. It would largely retain the zoning that's in place, which is currently kind of a mismatch of, or not mismatch, but it's what's the word?
Mishmash.
Anomaly.
Mesh. It's a
Of
mesh.
C2, C3, and C4 through that area. And we do have some changes to zoning to talk about in that area, but this is just the policy area.
Because what's it help us, what does it help physically do? to what
It
we
focuses the town center policy area designation to the south and along B&A
It
Boulevard.
looks like you expand the town center down, all the way down B&A in this map, because it didn't used to always go all the way to.
So there are two things. There's town center policy area and there's town center zoning, and those are two different things. And I'm not talking about the zoning yet, because yes, you're right, the zoning, town center zoning is much smaller.
I'm just trying to understand what the benefit is.
What is the policy here? I mean, what does this do? We're not,
So when do you-
nobody's talking about policies.
Are you asking like when you switch from being with, right now, it's currently in the town center, development policy area, DPA, and now we're switching it over to being within the critical corridor development policy area, so I think the question is just, what's actually gonna change on the ground? Right? Which, I think Patrick's gonna.
Yeah, so the town center policy area. Existing or planned compact, walkable, pedestrian-oriented, higher density residential and non-residential mixed-use areas. That take the most urban form and character within the county. And then the critical corridor, and that is within the targeted growth area. So anything that's within town center is targeted growth area.
And
Critical,
that's growth of both business and residential, or one or?
Yeah,
or the
targeted
other?
growth,
It's
it's-
everything.
yeah, and also targeted for investment to support that.
And what you
growth.
just read was town center policy.
That was the town center policy. So that's what we're proposing to remove just from north of Georgia Avenue. And put it into critical corridor, which is applied along existing developed areas along major roads where opportunities to improve safety and mobility exist. These often form the economic center of a community, and redevelopment that improves multimodal outcomes and preserves adjacent neighborhoods is encouraged. Regional scale, auto-oriented commercial areas or congested critical transportation arteries. These require investments for improved traffic management and mobility for all modes. Now, so currently the critical corridor is applied all along Route 2 to the north. And we felt like that area that we're proposing to change is more similar in character to the areas. to
So
the north.
the policy would, it seems to me, would be not have any of the dealerships and all along there, sell out for multiple use properties, mixed use properties, and keep them as automotive. Is that what I determined by that policy?
I think it's it
Kind of.
it's kind of a recognition that
So we stay Crime
that
City.
seems to be the nature of that area currently.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing but, I think one dealership owns most of that whole thing you're taking out.
And I feel like when we're talking about areas to redevelop and try to change the character of an area or improve the character in a certain way. Being a little bit more focused sometimes is better than, I think applying that to a much broader area. So I think that's what we're trying to do, is to really focus that designation to the
A
south.
couple of things that stuck out as you were reading that description is that area generally is not walkable.
Right.
So.
But
if
putting
that
it in the-
policy is going to help that, then.
The critical corridor does call for multimodal improvements, and so it would, still offer an opportunity to work on those things. It doesn't deprioritize that necessarily.
So I just want to shoot.
Fair, yeah, I appreciate that.
Sorry for taking up 10 of your 30.
12.
So what I understand is that area that, has a dotted line, you're just recognizing its character.
Yeah,
And letting it be that at the time being.
And placing it in critical corridor, but then also aligning that new policy area overlay with the areas that have a commercial revitalization area designation as well, to bring those areas into the targeted growth
So there
areas
could
again.
be some change, but it would still be within what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more closely aligned with the character,
Yeah.
and I think what's the
Okay.
reasonable character to
Right.
anticipate over the next decade or so.
I think.
Yeah,
That was a lot.
but the way that you were interpreting it, I think is exactly correct.
Okay,
In terms of,
all right.
it's, yeah, with the targeted growth gets a little bit complicated, but it's really, so when we take it out, when we're recommending taking it out of the town center development policy area, it's just so that when it goes in, if we were to recommend for critical corridor, that it doesn't lose that growth. Like that targeted growth, like kind of over, like kind of, well, not for lack of a better word, overlay. So you don't wanna have the, you change, you don't wanna forget about the area once you work, so it's just making sure that that's continual throughout the whole area, all the way up throughout Route 2.
Should I keep talking about other ones in that area,
Recognize,
or?
We talked about it, I think we'll vote on it, we'll pass it.
or do you have?
Or do you want to
You
keep
have
going?
other areas.
I do have other areas in
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
area. Should I just
Yeah.
continue through that?
No, make it simple.
This
It's not that we can
is the most,
In other words, make it understandable.
this is the most complicated of our areas. Let's scroll over to 7409, if you will.
Yeah.
This site here, do you want to turn on?
Yeah. okay.
Parcels. This site is like I mentioned, it's a county property that is, zoom out a little bit so that you can see the full
That's right, yeah.
property. So this is 7409 B&A Boulevard. It's about 35 acres in total, all extending all the way up into there. About 13 of them are developable. It's a county owned, has had DPW facilities there previously, has a few other things that we visited it a couple of weeks ago, and they have the police have canine dog training back there going on right now. There's an RFP out right now soliciting proposals to for development proposals for this site with a vision of kind of mixed use development on this site, or redevelopment on this site. Currently, it has the TOD overlay on the front half of the site, and that is really the only part of the site that is developable. The part at the rear is all within the floodplain, and isn't really going to be able to be redeveloped at all. In this case, the TOD policy area, we felt like that works. That brings this site, makes it eligible for, I'm going to throw out there's another zoning overlay. It's called the Glen Burnie Sustainable Community Overlay. It covers all of this area and a huge part of Region 3 actually. But having that TOD overlay on a part of the site, it brings this whole site into making this site eligible for those overlay provisions. So that's a consideration. But there's kind of a vision, and this is where I kind of want to get your thoughts on. Would you agree with kind of a mixed use type of development for this site? It's right, it fronts onto B&A Boulevard, but there is kind of an established single family neighborhood community just to the right, to the east of the site there. So all of that is a stable single family neighborhood. I don't know, thinking, 5 to 6 story mixed use kind of transit oriented development, with this being that close to the rail station, it's right on the greenway and also that close to the town center. Would something of that nature be amenable to you all?
When you say
If we
mixed use, exactly. what
mixed
does that-
commercial, office and residential all on the same site. And so we're proposing mixed use zoning, mixed use transit zoning for that site. Currently, I did not write down what this site is currently zoned. It's kind of a mix of a little bit W1 at the front, and then primarily R5 right now, yeah.
So the residential would be R something or just whatever happens?
That's what's on there now, and we're proposing to change the zoning to mixed use transit.
But you said mixture with residential possibilities.
That's what the mixed use would do.
So that gives
So
us,
dense.
there's enough space for a thoroughfare there so that, if it has that concept of the apartments above the restaurants and the shops and whatnot, people are gonna come in from other areas, they're gonna want a big freaking garage. There's enough, I'm challenged right now on the acreage. Is that enough acreage to do that type of development?
Mixed use doesn't have to be, I mean, there's some work going on to revamp. We currently have 4 mixed use zones that are not very well suited to different parts of the county, and there's some work to try to rework those to be applied with potentially 4 zones that are mixed use but at different intensities. So the lowest might be like a village scale mixed use, 1 to 2 stories. And then the most intensive would be urban scale with, I don't know what we're talking about at that height, like 8 stories or something maybe, but that not in this area. This area would be somewhere probably in between those 2. So probably 5 stories maximum is what we're
5 to 6.
anticipating on this site.
Well, my office is 7410.
Which one is it right beside it?
Street.
So you have a thought.
I got a view of it, and I own some property down in town center.
Okay,
So personally, I think it should be a lot of residential and less commercial, because I mean, we're trying to we're on the 2 of us here on the revitalization of Glen Burnie. And we really trying to renovate or revitalize town center. So as long as it doesn't pull the whole town center down there with too much commercial. And again, I have a vested interest, so I want to disclose that in all of it, because I'm very vested in Glen Burnie. So we want to see 7409 redeveloped. It's just what's best for it, And I know we need housing in Glen Burnie to support. And if you need to renovate to to do the revitalization, we need people. I mean, you need people living there and working there. And I was very much in favor through a lot of things of getting better access to the light rail from Glen Burnie Town Center and from that site. Because you can't walk there right now. I mean, you can, but chances are you get hit. People do it, but there's no sidewalk on the west side of B&A.
Okay,
you can cross over or come all the way down the, I guess, the 7409 side.
Mhm.
Because, and then you gotta cross over at Dorsey Road and Eighth Avenue. Because it's not walkable.
But those are things that can be worked on.
Yeah, they gotta be done, and they should be, and it'll be good. So yeah, I'm in favor of mixed use. It just depends on the ratios.
I think that's a good point, a fair
Yeah.
point.
And when you talk
That's what
about,
I look at in my office every day.
when you talk about residential, I mean, in this area, we always talk about, affordable housing. So when you look at the scale and what they're going to put there, how is that going to benefit the community? As far as having something where people who live in the community and work in the community will be able to stay in the community. Because everything that I have seen going up as far as residential properties, whether it be single family housing or apartments, the costs outpace the wages in this area.
But there is talk of a big, or a portion of that being, workforce housing or,
Yeah, so long
some
as,
of that will, from what I understand, that's what the county wishes are,
well,
which is helpful.
yeah, that's a concern of mine because, people that work in the community can't live in the community.
That's
So
right.
as long as that is stipulated.
Is this the site, Patrick?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
This is the building that's at the front of the site. It used to have. I don't know what, I can't recall what's in there right now. It had some DPW operations in there.
wow, it's across the street and I got no idea what's in there.
Yeah.
It's changed recently and it's not in great shape, as I understand. But then there are several buildings behind as well. And
So what's the SAC trying to do for this? Because isn't there already a proposal out and?
Is it?
there's an
we need to
RFP out, so
change it?
our proposal is to maintain that TOD development policy area overlay and recommending MXDT zoning on this property. And then if you all have thoughts, like precisely what you said, Richard, if you'll have thoughts about like the type of mix of use, how much density you think, like what height would be comfortable, if you think 5 to 6 is too low, too high, just right, that would be helpful to hear.
I mean.
Mix it up.
I'm.
I like
fine.
mixed
mean,
use, I'm for it.
I'm for mixed
4,
use.
5, 6 stories.
I have
mean,
no idea how
It's
big.
really what's cost effective for the developers
Yeah.
and parking it and everything.
Okay,
Yeah, my thoughts are if the community doesn't have an issue with the mixed use, certain stipulations, then move forward with the recommendation.
The mixed use could be interpreted a lot of ways. I mean, there could be a certain amount of residential, so we just don't know that yet, but it leaves it open.
and I think the idea is to make sure there's enough flexibility within all of these kind of overlapping tools to let the redevelopment that needs to take place
Leave it
happen, but hopefully kind of within some parameters that will make sure that it is integrated in with a neighborhood that's just to the east.
Well, it could be very similar to the project that they just finished on Reed Road. I mean, what does that mean? It's got just a little bit, on the old Aaron building.
Yeah.
You guys probably pass it every day.
Mhm.
Level. I mean, they've got commercial on the bottom that I don't think is full yet, but all the apartments or condos or whatever.
Yeah.
Element, right?
Abington.
Oh,
Abington, yeah, and there's supposed to be commercial out to the front as well.
Oh, they're
It
gonna
hasn't
be
been
more pads
constructed.
in front.
Mhm.
That wouldn't be bad.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that, really that access is the main access to Glen Burnie for visitors, I would think, or people that were coming into Glen Burnie. Because they come off 97 or from the airport. Anything to, that ice house and the other stuff is, anything to brighten up, make that street nicer is gonna be
As
an
long as it's
advantage.
not another Wawa Roll Farms, right?
Another gas station, right?
Oh, my goodness.
Do we want to stop and take a temperature check on what we've just talked about with the policy areas and then this site? As well, and see if we're comfortable with that or not, I mean, I'm not.
I think it's good to pause and cover so far. What don't we cover so far? Concerns?
Comments, questions, concerns?
Recommendations.
I'm okay with it because it allows that
Yeah.
flexibility of interpretation
Okay.
or, planning.
So far, we've been good with the county.
Okay. All right, then I will continue then we can kind of move to the south and. I'll just point out a couple, these are not too complicated at all, so I'm looking at 17, GB and 17.
Yeah.
North of Thelma and Aqua Heart, this was a. Well, there are two, there's 17 and then 112, so on the north side of Thelma Road, if you can. Should be in that area, I think it's, zoom in just a bit.
Pretty close. Oh. that
I
one.
think it's that, yeah. So those areas to the left that are in gray, which one is that? 12, yeah. This is a staff recommendation. We're recommending that those small lots move from C2 to C3. That's consistent with the lots that are to the right and are under the same ownership. And then looking across the street at GVN 17, that is a zoning application. They've requested C4. Currently, the site is split between C3 and C4. We are actually recommending making the whole site C3, as we kind of felt like this is within the town center policy area and therefore less auto-centric. So we are kind of recommending C3 for this area as opposed to C4, just because it's within the town center policy area. And that is a bit of a less auto-centric zone, although it can be very
What is the
auto-centric still.
adjacent properties to this?
Say that again?
The adjacent properties to,
So the adjacent to the north is C3, but existing C4 to the south. We're not proposing to necessarily change the existing.
You mean the current uses of those?
right,
Right.
well, not the specific uses, but this one is split, C3,
Right.
C4.
It is.
Right.
And you're saying to the north, it's C3, but to the south,
Or,
it's C4.
That's right.
yeah, that's right.
Those three properties.
So all in the red is the C3
Mhm.
and then the purple is the C4. So yeah.
Hmm.
This, you can kind of hard to tell, but this right here is the parcel line.
I see it.
Yeah, yeah.
It looks like it cuts right into that building.
It does.
Yeah. Yep.
How's that impact?
We had a review of the parcel lines as well, and this is where they've landed right now, so.
Yeah.
It's a little bit
And
strange.
can you zoom out just a little
Yeah,
bit to see
definitely.
how much more C4 it is?
Sure.
Okay, it goes all the way and continues.
Yeah, yeah.
It is. Flip a coin.
So that is our proposal for that one. We do have, there's one consistency change I was gonna point out. If you go back to kind of the 7409 area and up on 8th Street
Yeah.
or 8th Avenue. There's one consistency change in kind of that industrial area that fronts onto 8th Avenue. Northwest. Whoops. Okay, we're at, that's our.
Is it a consistency or is it a staff recommendation?
That one is a consistency change.
Am I going?
Go to the north, further to the north. Zoom into the industrial area right across from Cromwell
Yes.
No,
Oh, sorry.
no, to the, there. Just above the green there.
Yeah.
So that area, the pink to the right. We're recommending that be, what, all of that comes into the consistency change from C4 to W2. Because the planned land use that was adopted has industrial planned land use there. So I just wanted to point that out to you, that that's a consistency change that we're recommending. And then if we want to continue north along Route 2 to GBN 7. So we're just north of the town center, this one. This is a comp zoning application request to change from C3 to C4. This is, so currently the adopted, this is the area that has town center policy area. We were recommending pulling it out of town center and all of that. We recommend supporting the C4 request. This is a Meineke. It's right beside Honeybee Diner, to the left of that. So that's that one. And then staff recommendation 107, is that the one that was lit up right beside it?
108.
100%. Yeah. So it was the in-between parcel.
Okay.
Oh, you're.
107 right up here, Patrick.
Yeah, I was gonna point out 107, that's a staff recommended change from C3 to C4, and this eliminates a split zoning on that property. This is Bob's Automotive Auto Repair, and it conforms to the existing use. So it's just kind of a major split zone currently that we're recommending resolving. Wow.
Purple C4.
Mhm.
On there.
Yeah.
That's weird.
And then the only other major one is, there's a little piece of Glenhaven Cemetery. No, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. We are resolving that too, but there's an application just below the cemeteries, 06, GBN 06, yeah. That was a request for C4. In this case, we are actually recommending retaining the existing C3. They have an approved special exception use that allows that existing gas station that is there. And we felt like approving C4 there would kind of isolate that C4 on that side of the street. So because it works with the existing special exception approval, we wanted to just retain the existing C3 on that property. And
Everything around it though is C4.
everything
Oh,
around it
yeah,
is C3. C4 is across the street. So this is on the,
Yeah, the gas station.
I don't know. That's not a screenshot, that's not.
Do you know why they wanted to be C4, what their plans were?
Because
I think it was yeah, I think it's to perfect that existing gas station, which is allowed in C4. But like I said, they have an approved special exception to operate in C3.
Yeah, so if it works.
Does that transfer if there's a new owner?
Should, yeah.
As long as the use doesn't cease for 12 consecutive months. That's when the non-conforming or the special exception use is forfeited. As long as it's continuous, it transfers in perpetuity.
And those are the only main changes. The only other changes in the area are kind of just consistency changes aligning with the planned land use that was adopted with Plan 2040. We've kind of pointed out the major deviations from that. And I promise the rest of the region, I don't think it's going to be quite this complicated, but this is kind of the target area of the region. So
I want to just make sure we hit one other application that was submitted. Did we go over this one, 0016? I feel like we might have,
Good catch. I totally missed that. Thank you.
okay, no worries.
So
This is down south of the town center on Crane Highway.
yeah, and this one was a request for C4. So changing from their existing C3. And kind of similar to the other request to the south, we were recommending retaining the C3. Felt like it was more appropriate in the town center policy area, than expanding the C4 zoning in that area. Pull up the application. Yeah, thought I said. Yeah, I thought I said that we recommended C4 for O7. So that's it. You know, I was about to say in a nutshell, that was not a nutshell at all. That was a giant fire hose.
It'll make you nuts.
17 is the only one I have. Maybe want to revisit again,
Let's do that.
because it seems like it's right on the edge to me.
It's weird.
And if they're requesting that they want to go to the one that's on the other side of them, I feel like it's not that much of a change to approve it. As they request.
Split, because it's separated almost down the center.
It really is.
Yeah. So why not go with what the owner is requesting?
What do they have there and what do they wanna?
The snow cones, yeah, it's a snow cone building.
Pull up the application.
I think I have it right here. You want me to bring up the application itself or maybe the data sheet?
Dave, you good. That's all that.
Yeah.
Well, the next piece just to the north of it is a nice piece of C3 that's never been developed. So it doesn't seem weird.
Yeah.
For C3. But we got a gas station, a C4 right south of it, but you can't put anything to go in. Just a block away from that. So it's like. You can see the barriers around the gas station right there on that corner.
Mhm.
So I that's,
That's already C4.
Yep. But we don't know, it could be, we've talked about that piece before early on, that could be, you know, a problem with tanks or anything else. So, and that's, who knows why it's not,
Yeah, rather than.
not developed, not that somebody doesn't want I don't really know. C4.
I think we were kind of thinking that maybe that boundary of Aqua Heart being sort of everything south of that being more auto-centric and much more like heavier commercial uses. And so that was what we were kind of thinking, maybe hold the line north of Aqua Heart to be more like town center oriented, but
Yeah, 'cause
it's right on that line. So
The next one is gonna be the lot right next to it at Heatherstone, part of the, and that has to be developed unless it gets, that was part of the subdivision. It was a mixed use subdivision.
Mhm.
The condos and then the commercial piece, right?
Right, yeah,
That
on
piece
the
right there of C3. It's
Yeah.
been for sale for quite a bit, but you know,
So yeah, I think it's just kind of, we were thinking about holding the line and that, you know, maybe that one parcel of the application itself is, you know, might be fine to recommend in terms of what they were requesting, but then it's like maybe the people, you know, start getting more north, so well, if you know, do that for them. You know, go kind of like a slope of that nature.
I think their main purpose was to make it one designation as
Mhm.
opposed to two. And so it would still be desirable to someone if it was C3. So I don't see why it has to be C4 to achieve what they're really trying to do, is make it desirable to some investor.
Well, they might not be the investor. You gotta watch that. It could be the property owner and they have a use. They could be a business owner and they have a use, they have the land and they want to improve the area. So you can't just think that everybody, in my opinion, you can't think that everybody's selling just to make money. It's also, they might have something that they want to do there that they think that they need C4 for that would benefit the community. So I understand holding the line though. Cause you know, you gotta, with the zoning, you know, from going from C4 to somewhere, it's gotta go back to C3.
Right.
I agree with that, but that's just my opinion on, whether it's C4 or C3. We don't, it could be wind up being something really nice, or it could be another tire store.
It's very difficult. It's difficult to make a decision without knowing what.
Another roll farms.
Hey, nothing wrong with that chicken.
Nothing wrong with that chicken.
I like holding the lines for itself. 2040 development policies, center. Is kind of,
Does that kind of answer your question a bit more, Alyssa?
Definitely, yeah, it was the only one that kind of stood out to me
Sure,
as
sure.
being on the edge and. Okay,
definitely.
I'm good. Do we want to go to the vote for everything?
Yeah.
We're over time for this,
Yeah.
keep moving, yeah.
All right, so
I was wondering if we could take a 5-minute brain break. My brain is on overload. Just like 5 minutes, just to not think about these things for a minute.
before
Can
the,
we vote first?
Oh, yeah, you can vote, but after
Yes.
that.
And then we'll take a break?
yes,
Yeah,
so,
like 5 minutes, that's all I need.
let's take a vote so far on OPC's recommendations for the 4 areas we looked at.
This kind of Glen Burnie Town Center and south area
Glen Burnie Town Center and South.
and up to Sawmill Creek, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna get them
going
all.
through them, we didn't have many objections to OPC's recommendations. Any objections at this point before we vote? All right, all those in favor of accepting OPC's recommendation for the region shown on the screen? All those opposed?
All those who like a brain break,
All those like brain break? Motion passed, and let's take a 5-minute
okay,
break.
brain break.
Okay. All right, so this area, I guess we should set the timer for 10 minutes.
Okay.
So this is,
Right.
this is kind of the Ritchie Highway North area. So we're gonna be west of Route 10 here, along Route 2. And the first thing we'll talk about is kind of what Patrick was talking about with extending that development policy area overlay, the corridor revitalization and redevelopment overlay. So the area basically where the creek kind of ends here, right here, up to like Folsom Way. The area that's in that outline, it's currently in the critical corridor policy area. We're not proposing a change there. But we want to include that area also in the overlay for that revitalization and redevelopment overlay. So it's basically a continuation of what he was talking about farther down south. We want to apply it in that area as well. Let's see, I think we can go to the 24 application. So, I think it's about north. Okay. So this is 6918 Ritchie Highway. It's application 0024. It's currently a mattress firm building. The owner it's currently zone C3 and the owner's requesting C4. OPZ is recommending C4 for consistent with it's consistent with the planned land use, and it's also consistent with it being in, C4. Since it's in that critical corridor development area.
Right next to a church? Doesn't say there's a church there?
Yes.
Yeah, do you want
Do you want to go to street view? Yeah. But the adjacency to the south was all C3 still, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So there's a lot of car dealerships across the street. There is a church to the south. And there are several restaurants to the north. So, which are they're C4 right to the north.
To the north, they
Yeah.
are, yeah.
That's the site right
So right
It's that
here,
mattress firm.
and just to reference, there's the church that you saw on
Okay,
the
there's a
map.
little buffer there. Some
Yeah.
trees.
And then across the street on the other side, it's, a lot of car dealerships. So it's heavily auto-centric and it's in the critical corridor. Immediately to the south, though, it is C3, but it is kind of that more heavier commercial area along Route 2. So it seems appropriate to us.
So the owners requested C4 and OPZ's agreeing with the recommendation. Agreeing with the request. That's our recommendation.
Yeah.
It's just that triangle there,
Yeah.
so
let
it'd
me-
still
let
be
me put on
surrounded
the-
by C3.
You can see here. Yeah. There's
And I'm
no-
surprised we didn't recommend that on the C4.
We looked at that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Option change
Okay.
and decided to.
yeah.
Would we also recommend that the property north of that go to it? As
We-
well, so it's not an
We
island?
considered that, it's not discontiguous, it would, the C3 does one behind this and actually connect into where that restaurant is, and because they didn't request a change, we didn't recommend it from our
If it ain't
end.
broke, don't fix it.
That was kind of our thought, yeah.
Yeah.
And this area is kind of, if you go a little bit south, it is
There's
kind
kind of
of
a snaggle
a mix,
too, so.
yeah, of C3 and C4.
Oh,
It does look like a snaggle.
And it's still was all under the same plan land use of commercial, so it's not like there's industrial or residential right next door that would be that kind of island versus it's.
So there's no major concern with C3 or this C4.
Not
So we didn't, so.
So then we can go to 103, which is a staff recommended change. It's the asphalt mixing plant. So this one, we are just recommending that the zoning change from W1 to W3. Just to align it with the existing use of an asphalt mixing plant.
Okay. That makes sense.
To the north.
And then 0001 is it's along Route 2, the very northern part of the region. So that it's 2 parcels, and the owner has requested C3 or C4 on both parcels. The parcel that fronts Route 2 is currently a law office. It's kind of a standalone building with some parking. There's a driving school and a law office in that building. Looks just like kind of a small office building. And on the rear, it's all kind of unmaintained wooded area with a dilapidated house covered in woods, overgrown woods. So we kind of saw these two as a little bit separate, just because the back parcel, the residence is on, what is that street? Cherry Lane. Look onto that wooded area. And so anything that gets built on this back parcel, these residences are gonna be directly facing. So we felt like C4 on that back parcel was too intense. We think, I think C4 could be appropriate on the parcel fronting Route 2, but on the back parcel, we're recommending C3, which is, we could even say C2 might be appropriate there, but I think C3 on the back and C4 is on the front is our recommendation.
How is it that it's R5 right now as well? It's C2 R5.
So there's a little sliver of R5, you zoom in.
Yeah, see, it comes back to Sterling.
Oh,
So it's primarily C2 right now. And then it's kind of, the back parcel is split zoned. R5 and C2.
Again, it's kind of hard to see, but this curve is the parcel boundary, so this block is partially, like Desiree was saying, R5 and.
That's where all the trees are there.
Yeah.
Maybe that,
So they look equal sizes, so they're probably about an acre and a quarter.
maybe that was for a setback and something that won't disrupt the residential housing on that side.
Yeah, what's the screening on C4 to
Yeah.
R5? Isn't it a 25-foot buffer or something like that?
It's on the landscape manual.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't worry about it. I mean, I'm sure the county has something in place. So the
where
other,
you're abutting a residential area, yeah.
I don't know why it wouldn't just all be one of the same zonings. I mean, I don't know how what could they do with a half C?
They want to make a
half C4?
hotel or a gas station, according to the application.
For both sites. They want to combine both sites into a hotel and gas station.
I think a hotel permitted in C3, right?
Yeah, we had a hotel drawing done and approved in 1986, and
Yeah,
the county changed the zoning to C2.
Hotels
That's it.
hotels are permitted in C2 or C3.
I think it's nice to retain that buffer of trees somehow with whatever happens behind. I don't know how you do that.
I don't think a zone in itself would be the
Yeah.
thing to do that. It would go with it would depend on the landscape.
Yeah, it would have to be a setback of some type, to give that buffer.
So. Okay, yeah, I think that's it for this area. So if we want to take,
ring.
a vote on, or if you have thoughts and want to propose something else on any of these, you know, or if you want to take a vote, we can stop
So I
here.
think this last one was the one that had most discussion. And so the OPC's recommendation is C4 on the front, C3 on the back.
I like that. For the reasons that they
And the
gave.
the owner asked for 4 or 3.
That's right.
And it's two parcels or one?
It's two parcels.
Two parcels.
Yeah. But they own both. Yeah, yeah.
I think you had asked for the size. The front parcel is 0.91 and the back parcel is 1 and a little bit less than 1.25.
Yeah, I don't think the people in that neighborhood are gonna want a gas station right behind the street.
That was our thinking.
Yeah.
I go with the zoning opposite them.
Oh, cause C3, they can't put a gas station.
You can
They
special,
they can by special exception.
if it meets
Yeah.
all the criteria, so it doesn't preclude that necessarily.
And
So
even if
give
it doesn't, theoretically, there can be variances to. the
Gas
criteria.
station, I feel like the before in the head.
Special exception and a variance.
You could argue B two is more appropriate there, but
Makes their input.
but it has been C two for a while and it's not been redeveloped, so it's kind of, it is sort of a, I mean, there's a abandoned house. It's, I think, like, we want to encourage redevelopment here, so we were kind of apt to, you know, grant the change.
Should be C3 or C, either what you
Yeah.
guys are saying or all C4. Because the only reason I say C4 versus split, you know, does C3 really give the residents any protection in the back if that's the case for it? The C4 is to the south of it, so why introduce a different zoning at all? I mean, what is the point? What is, you got the county's recommendation for one being C4, the front one being C4 and the back one C3? What does that enlighten us?
It allows for the more intensive zone toward the front on Route 2 and sort of ensuring that there's not the opportunity for the most intensive uses in that commercial zone.
Right.
Fronting those houses.
Because of the R5,
Mm-hmm.
and it's new. It's not like the other people that C4 the whole time, the other
Right,
R5.
Right.
So that's important.
And that, the C four to the south, there is a buffer, there's like kind of there's an alley in between, and they're not looking onto the
Right.
C4,
Yeah,
there's a
there's not.
wall there, so it's buffered.
Yeah.
Whereas this property to the north is very,
Wide open.
is much more exposed, and they look directly onto it,
Yeah,
so.
they could actually have a rear exit out that way possibly if the
With
site
the
development
traffic.
plan
Yeah.
allowed it
Right.
right into their houses.
Even entry, because there's an off ramp right that connects right out to Sterling there.
I hate to say it, but I see a whole lot of trees there that could possibly benefit the neighborhood for some other kind of development, like playground or recreation, you know, passive recreation and the trees. I just hate to see everything go commercial or industrial, especially when there's a nice cluster of trees in our neighborhood.
Well, even with the current zoning, you know, that they're not hasn't been
Mhm.
developed right now, but it doesn't mean that would necessarily stay.
Yeah.
And not that I would disagree with having more, you know, amenities like that, but they also have a pretty nice park right here as well. With, That's true. No, it's a good point. It's not, no, no, it's truly not, but
It's a different kind of.
different kind of amenity.
Yeah.
Well, it was just a brother.
Yeah. Okay, so,
Let's move forward with the vote.
yeah,
All those in favor of accepting the county's recommendations on the properties we just reviewed? Those opposed?
And that was number 6, right? Or no?
That was number 9.
Who writes down notes? I saw the number of votes and everything.
We're all getting,
We're also recording, so we go back and verify.
Oh,
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
But we're just.
no, yeah.
You pause it and you count back.
I know it's sharing the screen, we also have a little video so we can see, exactly, we can see who, just to verify.
Okay, so now we'll move to Point Pleasant Peninsula. So like Route 10 to the end of the peninsula.
Yeah, 15 minutes, go.
So just broadly, this area is all neighborhood preservation development policy area, just to set the context there. Not expecting big changes in this area, it's primarily residential. And so I guess like the main discussion is gonna focus on Furnace Branch Road. We drove that area and it's an interesting road because there's some existing auto-centric commercial uses. There's also some more local commercial, some churches. It's kind of a smattering. And so the question is, and we received four applications on Furnace Branch Road, all for C4. And so the question was whether we, allow some additional C4 in this area, if we expand those kind of auto uses, or it's not necessarily auto use, but it is an expansion. And so, or we sort of say, we don't want to encourage that change of character on this corridor. So I think it was our perspective that, I think some of the, one of the applications, I know you spoke about that was, 7.3, so 7.3, let's see.
7464.
7464, so that one is GBN 11. So that, it's an existing business used auto dealership. And then the parcel to the north, and there is a approved special exception since 1971 for outside storage for display of used cars. And then the parcel to the north is a same ownership. And it's, so I guess that's at 10, or is that still part of 11?
Sorry, let's just look.
Yeah, so 10 to the north is a existing business. It's a converted house that's a business that's operating a trucking and tankers in the back. So it looks like a house on the front, but then there's a parking lot in the back, basically. So they're requesting C4 for both of these properties. It's currently C3. And then to the north, we have another 0009 or 0009, which is also currently C3. Don't have any existing use here. It's a gas station. So they're just wanting to continue the use of a gas station. Although, and I don't think they have a special exception. It's just a use under C3. And then we also have 0008 to the north, which is the only residential, it's currently residentially zoned R5. They're actually requesting C1, not C4. And so that is currently it's a service garage. So it's a big parking lot with a service garage. It's for sale right now, or for lease or for sale.
What's that across the street from it? Is that
The church,
a church?
yep.
And the church.
And the church owns this property, actually.
Oh, so they.
So this is the property.
Yep.
Right here.
The church owns that the church across the street, I believe it's this church owns that property as well.
So they want like a coffee shop or something?
It's They're saying they want to, the applicant notes the change would allow the garage built to be used without being non-conforming.
What number was it?
It's 0008.
Like a parking garage?
It's a service garage.
Okay.
Um. But yeah, but the property is for sale and for rent too. So anyways, OPZ is sort of, it's our mindset that this area, we don't know that we want to expand C4. It's sort of serving as local commercial right now. And expanding C4 in this area could potentially act more as a regional draw or bring more people in, instead of it being a locally commercially serving. So it's, that's our take, but it's a tough call.
I think we call it broadly, C4 belongs a little bit more concentrated on the Ritchie
Ritchie.
Highway, which is more intensive
Mhm.
versus this, which is
Yeah.
less so. It's not quite that intensive a
And-
corridor.
And the three that are requesting C4 can continue their operations. It's not like
Mhm.
they're already built. I mean, there's a gas station that can continue, that there's,
Yeah, but that's an interesting statement that they can continue, but it would make them availability to maybe do something nicer with them because they're not gonna get rid of. If they're all being used as C4 currently, the truck, if they are, I missed that, whether the truck storage area and all with a house on it and that type of thing. I mean, if they're being used by C4 or they have registered legal non-conforming for that type of use, why not make it that use? So that they're in conformity to what the zoning is. Because I thought it was, I don't know if it's the county's position to get rid of non-conforming uses the best you can or not, or did they, because I mean, we had to stop registering. I mean, sending our annual letters that it's occupied. I mean, who governs the annual?
let's say, she's from zoning, so yeah.
One of the issues with just giving the zoning that specifically matches the use that's underneath is that it's no longer guaranteed to stay as that use, and it could allow other uses that maybe are even more intense. I mean, it's to presume that once it gets its rezoning, it's necessarily going to stay as what it is currently is a presumption, and we found historically that doesn't always happen. I think during the last comprehensive zoning, there were a bunch of, especially the non-conformings that were embedded in neighborhoods that were given commercial zoning, or, for some of those restaurants or offices that had been in the neighborhoods for a long time. And I don't know that anybody had really anticipated that once they got that zoning, that there could be other things that people.
I mean, here, it's not, I wouldn't be as concerned just because there is a mix of C3 and C4. But that does answer the question as to why you might want to leave it
No,
in
thank you.
current zoning.
Yeah, and I have a question about C4. Are C4 operations doing things that would negatively impact the air and the water for the people living around there?
So the permitted uses do allow, it's not, I wouldn't say it's necessarily that, it's not, oh, you get C4, you're gonna have more polluting type businesses, it's not necessarily, but it just allows for more expansive options. So, and a lot of them are in the area of, like outdoor storage, or so more, outdoor car storage, things like.
Breweries, truck shops.
Yes.
Boat showrooms or sales, animal hospitals, vet clinics,
So not
highway
by nature
commercial.
of the, not by nature of the designation to the increased pollution.
No.
It's
There's
just
more
more heavy.
They're just, it's more, it's
still
the
more
permissible, yeah.
And this is along Furnace Branch Road,
That's right.
which is a small road. It's
Yeah.
not a big road.
Here's the
So I'm a little
cluster.
worried about like the traffic and that will occur if it becomes you know, is gonna be attracting more people.
Well, to be fair, and I'm gonna make a counterpoint to even our own recommendation, if these were upzoned and then redeveloped, a redevelopment proposal is gonna have to pass adequacy of facilities testing for roadways anyway, and I think they get grandfathered for whatever the existing use and the amount of trips for that existing use, and then measure that against whatever's proposed, so.
Can I say something? I already went through the traffic studies and everything else for that site. I went through all that. You know, I just want to try to be in compliance. I mean, I got Route 10 behind me, Furnace Branch Road in front of me. I mean, the car lot has been there for 30+ years. I mean, it should be C4. I can't do anything. If I want to do some kind of improvements, I gotta leave it existing. I can't do any changes. I don't plan on turning it into something else. You know, and since I've came there, I mean, I've cleaned that whole side up. Because the property beside it that I want to get changed over to belonged to my uncle who had a cemetery. And he had all kinds of stuff there. So I'm trying to improve the neighborhood, not, you know, make it worse. And traffic, I wouldn't impact the traffic. It's just me using it.
Well, this is kind of like, iffy.
What's the
The
recommendation?
recommendation is with C3.
Yeah,
Retain
for
C3.
the three, for 0009, 0010, and 0011, we have recommended C3, retaining C3. And then for 0008, we have recommended retaining R5.
That last one was that little
Service.
vacant service station.
Across from the church.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
5 years.
But that was, I think, that felt more like a spot zoning, just that in that it's kind of in an island up there. We have already this commercial strip here. It's,
Makes sense.
Is it non-conforming still, or is it gone?
I don't think it has.
No, I don't.
Forming on it.
if they said applicant notes the change would allow garage built to be used without being non-conforming,
They want
but they don't.
Want to use it as it was built.
I guess they don't want to have to get a non-conforming use permit, but it's already.
Yeah, there
built.
is no registered
Right.
conforming use.
But since it's already built, it could be.
No, in fact, I feel like a while ago, when this church across the way had reached out to us and wanted to use it for something. I think they own it?
Now, are you
Yeah.
talking about
I
a
feel like
service
we dug
garage
into this
or
quite a
a
bit. and-
parking garage?
Wait a minute, I wanted to hear what you and that's still saying.
So I don't want to say for sure because it's been a while since I've looked at this property, but we were getting a lot of calls on it for a period of time. And I do believe that we were able to sort of predetermine that it wasn't going to meet the criteria for registration based on, you know, it's a combination of factors. When did the use start? Was it legal at the time? Has that use been continuous without a lapse of 12 months or longer? I'm pretty certain it had been vacant for an extended period of time. Maybe you guys know.
I think it's been
So
vacant for a long
I
time.
think the issue was just that you can't get a non-conforming use if the use has already ceased. Yeah, it doesn't
So they
exist.
don't even know.
It is a tough one because it's on kind of a busier road, so. You know, we talked about, could we potentially do a higher density residential, but again, it's a bit of a spot zoning. When you're in a sea of R5.
Are there services needed for I mean, there's a lot of houses around there instead of going out to Ritchie Highway. If it was, I mean, they're not asking for C4, it's C1. So it's community commercial or, so it could be a something for the community. For the people instead of, I mean, the other thing is you push everything, I don't know, the mom and pops on that road, because there's no Class A franchise on that road. They're all, so anybody in the county that wants to run their own business and can't afford to go on Ritchie Highway, but they might be able to do fine on Furnace Branch Road. So it gives, you know, our neighbors a chance, if it doesn't mess up our streets, to open up their mom or pop business on a street where they can't afford Ritchie Highway because, well,
Can you maybe?
I mean,
show the
that's just
street view?
an observation.
Yeah, because that'll show, it is my church, so I won't vote on this one. But it is like a place I think something commercial could be. I feel like when we're looking at the overlay, it looks like it's
But-
residential, but right there, it looks like, oh, that could be a little shop
Yeah, okay.
or.
I mean, is it, what's it,
Something.
C1, daycare or whatever, because. of the
Right.
community.
Be helpful to have information what the intended use was.
They want to sell it.
Oh, they want to sell it. Oh,
Yeah, we wanna sell it as is a garage.
Ah,
So. it's
yeah, okay.
Unless you guys.
Which the buyers will then have to.
So-
Right.
Yeah, so there is that one, which is a little bit different than the three to the south, and I think the three to the south, kind of the question is, and this question is also gonna come up when we talk about B&A Boulevard with further to the south, is kind of, do you see it as sort of a local commercial corridor different from Ritchie Highway and therefore deserving of different, less intensive zoning or not? And I think we kind of came down on a little more of a local side. You may disagree, and we can record that and send that forward as this goes out for public input, if you feel differently.
I like it being, you know, a little bit more local, even.
And we did hear the argument from our friend, our visitor here who spoke, so.
Do we have to accept all recommendations or can we?
No.
split?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely can split.
We take each one individually.
Right.
Yeah.
Even every application.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I'm asking.
Absolutely.
I mean, what do we start with this one across from the church?
Yeah, let's start since we're looking at this
Okay.
one.
Yep.
I think
And your recommendation
it's
was.
a 10 off.
what?
R5.
They requested C1,
Yeah.
we're recommending retain R5.
I like the R5.
And.
I like.
Or like Patrick said, somebody mentions higher than 5.
Yeah,
Whatever's gonna be improvement, because it's 100% paved.
yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah, it's true.
So if you want houses there, I mean, if you really, I mean, look, we got a church there, church across the street. So I mean, for me, you would only be able to put houses facing the side street. And then one or two of them that are gonna side Furnace Branch Road, so it doesn't make, I don't know how many people really wanna live in a house on Furnace Branch Road.
Yeah.
Is, unless it's a multifamily complex. You know, with, you know, I don't know, how big is it?
So it limits the use of an R5.
Yeah. I mean, that's my insight, so.
Nice, I like C1.
You wanna take a vote? How many people in favor of OPZ's recommendation of R5?
I see two.
How many people's in favor of C1, the requested C1?
One abstain.
Oh, one abstain, yeah.
Were you
Well,
raised?
that's-
6 and 1 abstain.
And we can also note that there was some discussion of potentially how higher density residential there as well. Noted.
It's got ways, yeah.
So what's the vote on that, Patrick?
6 for C1.
2 for
One, two,
R5,
five.
1 abstain.
Who abstained? Cause you're a member of the
I'm
church
a member
next
of the
door.
church, so.
That's a very, I don't think you have
I
to
don't-
abstain if you don't want.
Yeah, I personally, I like C1 for there. I think it would be appropriate for the whole corridor. I couldn't imagine houses just right there.
I mean. Would we wanna talk about expanding C1 at all beyond just that? I don't wanna open the Pandora's box, but.
Don't do
yeah.
Don't wanna open it.
We also could go back for the three of us after this and we could look at that ourselves as well.
Yeah, so let's look at the other two properties.
Yeah, so
Three.
GBN
Three.
0134.
Yeah.
Is across the street from
Oh.
0010. And it's a planned land use change.
Oh, I
It's
think
just-
we're talking about the three other.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, we
Yeah.
can vote on those, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The zero.
009.
So these
Yes.
3,
9, 10, 11.
9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
Would it be helpful to have street view for those?
Yes.
We were kind of on them and I'll throw it back. Let's see. So what's the top one? It's a
No.
9.
Yeah,
It's
9.
that, yeah.
So
So
yeah,
for-
just here's the 009 gas station. Then if we go down,
What piece, is it all the gas station or is it, what's, there's something next to it?
yeah.
It's two
so
applications on,
I think it's just the gas
It's
station.
just a
It's
gas
just a
station.
gas station.
just gas station.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's correct.
Okay.
Just what you can see within the bounds of this fence and then right by it to basically the edge of the pavement or so.
It's
Then
currently-
we got one down here. Sorry, not this,
Yeah,
but
that's it.
this one. Well, yeah, they're both right
Oh,
here, but
yeah.
which number is this one again? This
That
is,
one is.
that's 10,
10,
so
yeah.
you can see this is a house in front of with the truck lot in the back. You can't see it from here, but you can kind of see it. And then here is 9. Or,
So used car.
or sorry, there's
11.
11.
It's 11, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, going down. Yeah, these,
So these are the ones that have the special special exception, right?
The special exception, which we determined as long as it's under over 12 months of use, not a 12-month gap, they would be able to keep getting
With
it.
special exception use, but I should say, just to clarify,
Usually.
you know, since the gentleman spoke in the back, since I talked. It is true though, with a special exception use or with a non-conforming use, that you're limited to what is already
right then.
approved. A non-conforming does have some expansion potential via a special exception in public hearing. That's limited to 30%. A special that would be for a non-conforming use. A special exception use can only be expanded via another special exception. So both would require another special exception potentially to expand or change. Whereas, I mean, that could be another argument when you ask, why would somebody want to have the upzone property for a use they already have approved? That could be another reason too, is that it's easier for them to make changes to the site.
Yeah, so I mean, you got, what's to the, Andrew, what's to the, others, the right side of the house?
oh, over here.
Yeah.
That's looks like another.
Are they C4 or what are that house? Is
Yeah,
that?
go back to the zoning, so that's what you just saw on the street view, that's right here,
Mhm.
or sorry, that's a little bit up.
It's the other side, yeah.
That's right here. So you see, this is where we were, and then we were looking at this,
Is it currently C3?
They're C3, yeah,
there's C3,
but then just.
And what's all that house with all that?
the cars.
That's all C4, right?
It's all C4, yeah.
Where was that gas station that was just there?
The gas station for, that's right here.
Okay, so the junkyard is in between.
So there's another this is another gas station, on the other corner.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it's essentially that whole stretch.
That little strip is all C4 except for.
Can I ask a question?
The C3.
If something is zoned for C4. So they could use C4, but could they have something that's C3 and it's one level down if they wanted?
Yes.
Sure.
So like if you're
Well,
C4, you
well,
could have one.
You can't say that.
It's
Completely.
it's. Yeah, there's a whole permitted use list that designates what is allowed within each zone. So it's kind of broadly, we talk about kind of levels of intensity going up from C1 to C4. That's very broad and not 100% accurate in the, is
It's
that?
a little
Yeah,
bit
they-
more fluid
I-
than you
I
think.
can't spit one out, but I would be willing to bet there's some use that's allowed in C4 that wouldn't be, or that's allowed in C3 that wouldn't be allowed in C4 or vice versa. You can't necessarily, yes, they are increasing in intensity typically, but it's not necessarily
Inclusive.
Well, like
yeah.
C3, you can do mixed use with a special exception. Right? Residential, mixed use residential in C3. But in C4, you can't, so to speak. That would be an example of something that, like, right, if I'm
We
not.
don't have a mixed use, so are you just talking about the
I
residential
thought in
use that?
C3, we could do 50%, you could do 50% residential and 50%
Right, you
commercial
can do
with a
multi-
special exception, multifamily.
Multifamily, right, and
Yes.
it's a conditional use, not special exception, and it
Okay.
does have certain percentages of
Right,
floor area dedicated to commercial versus residential.
but you go to
um,
C4, you don't have that option.
Probably,
I would
good
think.
question, probably not. I can tell you in a minute.
Okay, well, and I have the question is like with that little house on 11 or no 10. And it's got a special exception. So for the community and for all of us on here, it's like, what can he really do with that? Can we make it not, is the community gonna want something nicer? Then if he's limited by all the restraints of having by having a non-conforming of what he has, is it gonna be better to go to the C4 so that maybe the house would disappear to something nicer?
If I can rephrase, maybe, tell me if I'm putting words in your mouth, are you asking? Would going to C4 trigger better redevelopment potentially, or?
That's thank you. Very,
Yeah,
very well
that's a good way.
said from this. Very good.
You must
Very
be
well
zoning.
said.
If we want or not,
Furnace brand.
Furnace Branch to look nicer, the C4, it would probably redevelop into something nice C4 if us as a group is not
Yeah.
concerned about our recommendation having too much C4 on Furnace Branch Road is, I
Or are we
guess.
stifling by keeping the zoning the same?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fair. It's a fair
Actually, when you
question.
say nice.
Well, it's also not one, because they have a special exception.
Actually, I don't think that's not the only question. You're allowed.
Yeah.
You're 10. So what kind of nice things would you be looking at when you see for?
Yeah. A nice Royal Farm.
Yes,
Yeah.
that word nice might not be what you think of.
Well,
Very nice.
one of the biggest distinctions between C3 and C4 is that most of the automotive dependent uses are allowed in C4 as well as outdoor storage as a principal use. And so a lot of the automotive uses can be heavier, you know, I mean, definitely C4 is a more intensive district.
Then it also allows things like breweries, which is like the only, C4 is the only. And I think car dealerships. The only zoning designation that allows breweries and car dealerships.
I don't think that's.
Yeah, I don't think that.
Go right there.
The location for that, yeah. So.
You ready to vote? All right, all those in favor?
What is the recommendation?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
so the recommendation from OPZ is to retain retain C3. The requested application is to go from C3 to C4.
And that was the case for all.
For all
Are we
three.
going all three, are you voting all three in a block? Or you're gonna go vote 09, 10, and 11?
I'm okay with voting 3. Any objection? Okay, vote all 3 in the block. All right, all those in favor of accepting OPZ's recommendation of retaining C3 and those 3 properties? 1, 2. All those in favor of converting it to C4?
5, 6.
Did somebody not vote?
Any abstains?
Oh, no, never mind. Okay. All right, 7-2. Okay. Noted.
Okay.
So you all supported the C4 on that one, so.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can go to, and I know we're kind of running out of time here, so like, let's go through these quickly. 134, GBN 134 is just a planned land use change.
So, excuse me, is that on both of them or
Both.
both?
Yeah.
Okay, thank
They
you.
let it come in the back.
That's Route 10. You can't get there.
So
There's a wall.
134 is a change of planned land use from high density residential to commercial, and that's just to bring it in alignment with the existing use. So it's not a change to zoning. It already has commercial zoning. We're just changing the planned land use to align with the zoning. GBN 105. Oh, we're gonna skip that. That's easy. GBN 0002.
Is that the one up on the peninsula
It's up.
or?
It's in the middle of that property.
Oh, yeah, this is a very strange one. It's up there. Yeah, right there.
Made most of them.
So this is just this is in a big residential neighborhood. The current zonings are R5. The owner's requesting SB, MXDC, or MXDR to allow for a catering business. Catering isn't permitted in any residential district, so we're recommending retaining R5. It's not really a zoning. Yeah.
We
We
felt
we're
like
not-
that level of zone
It's
is.
not
appropriate
appropriate.
in a
Yeah.
Residential neighborhood, just having a commercial or mixed use zone in the middle of this didn't make sense to us.
What does a caterer's place look like in sort of a house? Where they're making food
When you
and then
have
taking it
trucks
out
and-
places?
Right.
That's the biggest issue.
Yeah.
You have
Deliveries.
deliveries of supplies and then depending on how big the establishment is, they're gonna have vans for delivering out.
All right, okay, I get it.
If they're running it out of a residential property, I'm assuming it's small, it's,
I think they're not saying anything now, if they want to.
Street view, yeah. It's just
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think our thinking was just the impact on the surrounding neighbors was not.
So you're saying this business
appropriate.
could grow and then it could be all these deliveries.
Well,
It's just-
it's just that zone would allow for every other use within that zone to
Right.
happen there, and that's just not, this isn't the place for that.
Yeah, they want one specific thing, but the next one could say.
We should move them over across from the church. Help them with C1 and they can move it.
Who's that?
Recommendation for the church. It's a win-win.
Wait a minute.
Oh,
Should've done that when you could
That's the house.
Oh, just pulling up, it's not, I'm not.
Go knock on the door. I have a plan for you.
have.
It's clear.
No,
Yeah.
that's not even big enough.
Oh,
They're
it's
just
near
running
the
out
fire
of
Our
department?
trucks.
I don't think it helps.
Which is zone C1, yes. By
This
the
is,
way,
this is the street for reference around.
Do they have a catering company or they want to put one?
I think they want it, they don't have one. I mean, she may be
They're not
doing
gonna
things
do
out
it.
of her kitchen, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I love the.
But you, yeah, if you allow FB or MXD, then then there's a whole list of permitted uses that could be built there. It's in the middle of the residential neighborhood, so.
Is there anywhere in our region SB? Cause I haven't seen it.
It's that Severn Village Center, the west side of that had a few properties of SB.
Is
on-
it a new designation?
No, that's been there.
Just not.
All right, so I understand.
Good thing, this one.
Okay. And then there's another 120 at the end of the peninsula, which was a staff recommended change at 1759 Marley Ave. And I think it used to be operated as a commercial business. It's now just a residence.
It's
So we're,
pretty new.
yeah,
newly
it's like
built.
a new house on it. So it's currently C1. We're recommending changing that to R5, consistent with the house that's there.
It's not, it's the change for.
Right. Yeah. So we would, I mean,
We're
they'll get a
triggering
letter.
this.
we would mail them, yeah,
Get a letter.
right.
This one.
There's no little marina or anything?
No, it's just a house.
With a slip, it
And-
looks like.
With a slip.
Yeah.
And like Christina said, all of these zoning changes, the property owner is gonna get a letter.
Yeah.
If we've missed something, if they write us back and say, this is a bar and a hopping place or whatever, they'll let us know. And we can.
Visit.
What I say, take a site visit.
Plus it has those bars and on a
Yeah.
peninsula in the county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for Point Pleasant. If you wanna vote
With
on,
consistency,
Or that.
random, general consistency changes as well,
Right.
you know, the OS, those kind of things that we described.
Are we ready to vote on the
Yeah.
consistency changes?
Let's do it.
All right, all those in favor of accepting OPC's recommendations for the consistency changes? All those opposed? Unanimous.
and that includes the application.
The application.
Okay, yeah,
The one application as well, yeah.
yeah, there were two applications,
Or just one.
one application,
Two staff.
3
recommended.
staff recommended.
Yeah, 002
And include all of those.
is
Okay.
included.
All right, so now we can go to Outer Marley Neck.
Outer Marley Neck, let's get into this, which places, there's been a lot of change in kind of the Marley Neck area, as you all are familiar with, there's been kind of a gradual transition. Decades ago, a lot of this was zoned industrial and didn't, some of it transitioned to industrial, but a lot of it is the townhome communities associated with all of the tenure developments that you all are familiar with. So in this area, it's all neighborhood preservation development policy area from Plan 2040. We do have one slight change to bring the Brandon Woods Industrial Park is actually in Region 1, but the little portion that you see zoned industrial that is within Region 3 on the kind of to the south there, you see GBN 101. That we're recommending bringing that into the critical economic development policy area. Region 1, which is doing their plan concurrently with ours, they're recommending that all of Brandon Woods come into the critical economic development policy area. So that's a change that we're recommending to coordinate with what they are doing. Otherwise, the area is in the neighborhood preservation policy area and would remain that. So I think kind of the key areas for discussion for you all with this area is we've heard and including tonight, there's a need for commercial in the area to serve all of these new residences that are going up and have gone up here. And then I kind of want to talk a little bit, not a hard fast rule, but just kind of the character of Marley Neck Boulevard versus Solly Road. Marley Neck seems to be developing with a little bit more of a focus on residential types of development along Marley Neck Boulevard, whereas Solly Road, not wholly one or the other, but more of the industrial in the area does seem to be focused on Solly Road. And so kind of that sort of guided our thinking in this area. So if we go up to the intersection with Fort Smallwood Road, I'll just point out quickly, there are two properties that we're recommending a change on the southern corner right there. And I don't know if that has oh, it does have a number now. Okay. We're recommending changing those to C3. That's consistent with the existing zoning that is just to the south. So kind of making a little commercial node at the corner here. We do have a request just to the south. Yeah, GBN 0003, that is that one, yeah. This applicant had requested C3 zoning. We had, so there's existing C1 to the south. We had actually recommended making all of that C1. And it's because of the proximity to the neighborhood that's immediately to the west on Sycamore Drive there. We kind of felt like a lower intensity commercial use would be beneficial there, but keep it at kind of a lower intensity than C3 would potentially offer. Going up to kind of Tanyard Cove North, there are a whole slew of consistency changes that align with the build condition and then with the planned land use that was adopted by Plan 2040. So you kind of see all of those that are outlined there. Like the R2 area that you see there, I think is recommended for OS. That's consistent with the adopted planned land use. So I won't go in great detail to all of those, but those are all existing communities. They're going to be here in 20 years. GBN 0004, is that our large?
Which, is it, the application or the staff recommending?
I think that was the, yeah, application, yeah. So it's this one. This large undeveloped property here, this was a change. This wasn't, when Plan 2040 went through, there was a council amendment that put this large parcel into mixed use planned land use. And the agent for the property owner has come through and asked for mixed use residential zoning on this. And we are supporting that and supporting that request for mixed use residential. That's about 120 acre property there. So, and then kind of as we're talking about that, if we want to zoom in on the two application areas just below that, yeah, those are, you can see that the one on the top there is W1 and the one on the bottom is currently R10, I believe.
Yeah.
What's that? So R5 is on the bottom, 23 is on the top there. Yeah, and I said it wrong. It's application number 5 is on the bottom and application 23 is on the top. So for the bottom one, the owner had requested W1 for a commercial or warehouse building and parking, and we're supporting that request for W1, and that would require a planned land use change to industrial. And then for 23, the current zoning is W1. They requested C4 to be able to continue the current building uses. The zoning section, they've noted that this property is the subject of an approved non-conforming use that allows a contractor's establishment. And it was the subject, and tell me if I'm stating this correctly, after the fact special exception and variance that was associated with unpermitted expansion of that non-conforming use. The special exception was approved by the Board of Appeals, but the variance was not. And there's an illegal structure that's made from shipping containers that remains, and there's pending legal action on that. We felt like the existing, so they requested C4, and I think some of that would probably perfect some of those issues. We felt like the existing W1 zoning seems more consistent with the zoning in the immediate area. And so our recommendation is to retain the existing W1, that it is more compatible with the existing uses and thinking about what's coming. Our recommendation just to the south and then what's across the road as well. And going back to that larger parcel, we do have a justification written there that I think sort of speaks to, and it wouldn't be binding by any means on any future development of this property, but we did kind of recommend in the justification that any potential industrial uses that come in as a part of any mixed use development of that property be sort of oriented and accessed from Solly Road where you have the industrial across the street. And placing more of any residential toward Marley Neck Boulevard. What else? I think,
I'm
yes.
trying to digest as you're going through. There's a lot, so forgive me. But in that large parcel, when you read what they said, it talks to the fact that it wasn't well thought of last time it was proposed, it's looking at residential and retail service mix. And then when you come back down to 005, I'm not sure I'm following why that would be a W1 versus, I mean, it's backing up to all residential. Why wouldn't, and appreciating that across the street is the industrial, but if 04 is gonna be residential, everything behind it to the south and west of it is residential. Why would we be saying that would be W1? I guess I'm not following.
It's a lighter industrial that is,
I appreciate it's a lighter industrial, but why do we need lighter industrial there when the entire, like, 4 blocks across the street are lighter industrial?
fair question.
But also,
No. In my opinion.
but also versus like having it stay residential, you're saying,
Yeah.
right? I think part of the thing that we were thinking for this parcel in particular was the size in terms of width. Is that part of it, or if it's with having the
Yeah.
R10?
It used to be, it also like used to be W1. I think you spoke about this one as well, right?
Yes.
It used to be
it was
W1, you
Mhm.
changed it to R10, it's kind of a. It is backing up, but there is some separate, we should go to Street View.
Yeah,
This
okay.
one, there is a bit of a buffer there, so we thought, you know, with W1 being across the street, the property right next to it is heavily commercial. Right now, it seems a bit odd for our, yeah.
Contentiously commercial.
Yeah,
But,
they changed that on me. It was, when I got it, it was W2 and then it kept dropping down and I'm just trying to, you know, cause I'm in the pool water business. I'm trying to have something that I can actually use. So that's why I wanted a W2 instead of the W1. I didn't want to buy it for the warehouse there. I need something for outside storage.
Thought we recorded it as a request for W.
Yeah, we didn't have a W1.
Yeah, it should have been W2, but I guess my engineer made it, clear, 'cause he did the application. I've never been through this process. This is all brand new for me. I just know when you're in business, especially if you got any kind of trucks or equipment, it's like impossible to find any place that you can park legally without a lot of hassle. And I, you know, I said, Bittiger's been there for 20-some years.
not in that.
So particular spot, but needing places to.
A little skinny piece.
We were, W1, right? W2.
The retained W1 on the 0023, and then for recommendation for 005 was for W1.
And that's Sully right there going
That's all,
down, right?
Right, this
Yeah.
this road right here, solid, yeah.
I'm confused. So.
Oh, yeah, it's right by the school.
So we're saying 05. The property 005
Yep.
is the property you're talking about.
Mhm.
Yes, the W2.
Well, the request was for W1,
Yeah.
but,
Mm-hmm.
so we were recommending W1, but I guess.
It says on the information, requested R1, W1 and the recommendation was W1.
Where is there W2 in the area?
No, it's, there's no W2, besides some bit up here, but north, but that's not directly adjacent, no,
Well, that is W2.
or right across the street.
Isn't that W2?
Industrial.
Oh, yeah, right,
What are
sorry.
you putting on 023 W1 as well?
W1,
Retained.
retaining.
W1 on the 2 smaller ones, yeah.
They requested
What did you three
C4 on
ask for?
23, didn't he?
They asked for
C4.
C4,
123. And W one on
Oh,
Yeah.
that was what was confusing me.
What's the big one asking for?
Mixed use.
W2.
No.
No. Oh,
Mixed
four.
use.
96.
And
MXVR.
Yeah.
Mixed use.
I think we should separate the vote for that big parcel. I think it would be easy vote, but the little one,
Yeah.
I think we should separate.
Oh, three also.
well, we've got the ones up on the further to the north. as
Yeah,
well.
so if we do 004 and 003 together, those it seems straightforward. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you want?
Go
Break
vote
down
on
into a
003.
chunk and then.
What was it on three?
003.
Feel free to read that out too.
Oh, MXDR, mixed use residential is 50 to 80% residential, 5 to 25% retail and service, 0 to 25% office, and 0 to 25% industrial.
And then the difference between W1 and W2.
W1, industrial park, business complexes, conference centers, dog daycare without outdoor runs or pens. And then W2 is light industrial, outside storage, truck stops, wineries.
So am I correct in remembering that you said your applications for W1, but you really meant W2?
W2, that's correct.
We can't change
Yeah.
that here.
You can.
You could make a
We can make a recommendation
Yeah,
to
make
make
a
it
recommendation.
see
That's why you got appointed.
500. Yep.
For the big bucks.
Okay, let's separate the vote.
That's why you gotta leave separately.
Yeah,
03, the county's recommending keeping or going to C1, right? The R5 and C1, they wanted C3 and the county recommended C1
that's correct.
For 3.
for 03.
You ready to take a vote on 003?
Okay. Yeah.
All those in favor of accepting the county recommendation for C1? No 03? All
As
those,
opposed to what?
C3.
as opposed to the C3 that they
Request
requested.
Okay, so that's.
So C1,
So
C1,
C1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
And it's going down to the larger property.
How big is that property? It's huge.
120 acres.
Yeah, like.
And the retail means it could be a grocery store next in,
Yeah,
mostly.
could be.
Look at all the trees, guys.
I know.
We already have industrial all along Sully on the other side, but we need
No.
it too. It's a really.
What's
But
it-
again, just.
It's tougher.
Another reminder that even if it
what's the
kept
county
with the
zone?
current
Zoning.
zoning, the trees wouldn't necessarily stay.
Yeah.
Zone industrial
Because-
now, so
Yeah,
it's
so they're gonna.
And
If
how
this-
much
if
is
this-
residential? 80%, did you say?
It's for MSDR.
Yeah, now I will say though that there's potential for the mixed use zoning districts to be sort of overhauled. That was a recommendation out of Plan 2040 to make them kind of work at different intensities that are appropriate for different areas. So they're asking for mixed use residential. They may have an opportunity at some point to apply a more appropriate mixed use that is a bit different, but at any rate, if there had not been a zoning application for this, the planned land use that was adopted with Plan 2040 was mixed use. We would be making a recommendation as a consistency change.
You got houses on
zone.
both sides, mixed use, as you guys recommend.
Actually, Sarah, isn't the mixed use residential the lowest density residential allowed in any mixed use zone?
I don't know offhand. Let me look.
And part of you'll see in the application for that, I mean, they described that there was a past industrial development proposal that had been very opposed by the community in that area. And I think that's part of what the applicant is also.
It was for a distribution center. It was,
Well, yes, I think at council, yes, there was an amendment changing the planned land use to mixed use on this.
I go with the mixed use.
Ready to vote? All those in favor of accepting OPD's recommendation to go to mixed use? All those opposed?
Next.
So then the question about the two smaller ones.
When we make that one W2, which is what you want it, and it just, you can use it for storage.
Yeah, but you're right, between two mixed use residential, well, one mixed use and then one full residential. You know, but that's the entrance to your neighborhood.
But doesn't neighborhood interest the other way?
Yeah, the neighborhood, this is the elementary school. The
Neighborhood
Holly
left out.
Elementary School, the entrance
The
is
neighborhood.
off of this road.
You want to show a picture of the,
Yeah, we have to see
These two
the
properties, they,
of the
Right.
properties. This is the 23 and this is 0005, right? That's the number, I think. Yeah. Did you want to see another street view?
no, it's fine.
This one, okay.
What's up, can you show across the street? on the other
Sure.
side? So that's the W2 on the other side, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's very nice.
They've done a good
W2.
job to
It's a
hide it.
huge
Yeah.
setback.
Right. That's
It's got a
right.
huge setback.
How much density is in between, like how much tree area is there, I guess, separating the neighborhood from?
Well, you can, you,
Drive down.
oh, okay, sorry, yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
good buffer because the houses
The houses are like.
set back a
So
little bit.
you're gonna drive down Solid Road, you're gonna see the backs of the houses, you'll see the school, you'll see the backs of the houses, and then you're gonna see a parking location for industrial vehicles. If we approve a W2.
So the people living there
There's
really
already-
would be staring.
The one's already being used that way.
Right.
No, I mean, there,
And I did measure, so of those two little properties that we're talking about that we had recommended W1. There is about 77 feet between the property line and the kind of into that existing cul-de-sac there. So that's about 77 feet and probably about the same to there as
So there'd be a
well.
buffer.
And that's built. But that still I mean, you bring up a fair question, so.
yeah.
I mean,
It's-
I'm trying to envision 10 years from now, when
Mhm.
that whole acreage is built up as mixed use, you're gonna have, your coffee shops, your grocery store, your residential, let's hope we have all of that. Back behind you is gonna be this residential. And right smack in between the two, when you turn in to get to your neighborhoods, will be, W2. Will be this,
This is part of that mixed use,
right?
just as a reference.
So yeah, it has street buffer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 'cause so is this part as well. This is part of it goes on to the.
So, is this the last property we're doing, or we have another one?
We have a whole nother area.
We have several others.
Several.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
You ready to vote? We need a discussion. So the two options, I guess, would be to accept OPZ's recommendation of retaining. Yeah, the current zone is R10, so
23 or 5.
I think they're separate, or they should be counted separate.
You can do a separate vote for each.
Okay, so let's do let's do 5. The current zoning is R10. They've requested W2, the corrected W2. OPZ's recommendation is W1. Right? Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
All those in favor of
But
OPZ?
OPZ didn't even know that the person really wanted 2, they just moved it. that, we applied for one, that's all.
Yeah.
It's
And
kind
it
of a
faces
mix-up.
W2.
So all those in favor of W1? So there's three options. Yes, two options, W1 or W2.
Or retain R10.
Okay, so three options. All those in favor of retaining R10? Two. All those in favor of W1? One. Okay. And then all those in favor of W2? Right, now 002023 is.
What was the original request for?
It's currently W1, they're requesting C4. OPC's recommendation is what?
Retain
The
the
W1.
We just didn't feel like highway commercial was the right thing here.
All those in favor of accepting OPC's recommendation of retaining W1?
Is W2 an option since we
Yes.
just made W2
It should
and
be
the other one?
W2.
Yes.
That's
So
a
that
good point.
W2
That's a
should
good
be
point.
Agreed.
consistent.
Start there.
Amend the vote.
Amend the vote. All those in favor of W2? Um,
Well, what I'm a little confused at, is 23 also the property of this gentleman that was Tony?
No.
No,
No,
Okay.
different owner.
But they did request. What they requested.
C4.
oh. Yeah, they want to see.
So W2 would be more desirable for them.
Can they do the same thing they're doing now? The truck, storage and all?
Yeah.
They have a non-conforming use on that. And, special exception was approved by the Board of Appeals to expand that non-conforming use. The violation relates to that structure because the structure wasn't really a structure. It was like they basically stacked up shipping containers on two sides and put a canopy over top of it. So that violation isn't going to be cured by any zoning. It just needs to be come down.
Because it won't meet building code.
Right,
Right. So regardless of what we do, that doesn't fix that.
that doesn't. fix
They
that.
have to fix that.
right. So the use, aside from the structure, the use that they are using it for now, will W2 allow them to continue that use?
Yeah, outside storage as a principal use
Okay.
permitted in W2 and W3
Okay,
and C4.
Right. So all those in favor of W2 on that lot?
Seven.
All those in favor of OPC's recommendation of W1?
And then, do you all concur with the expansion of the critical corridor policy area? To capture that part, southern part of Brandon Woods?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
vote.
all those in favor?
Yeah, it's unanimous.
Okay. Great. All right, let's move to the west side of Marley Neck Boulevard real quick. I'm gonna jump down to 7489 Marley Neck real quick. That's 0025. This is the area we had our visitor speak to us earlier about this. The application came in with a request for C4. Has a registered C4 non-conforming use as a contractor's yard with accessory storage of junk trucks and equipment. That non-conforming use can continue regardless of the zoning unless the use ceases for 12 months. The majority of the site is within it's in the critical area within the limited development area. Our initial recommendation that we had put out for you all had been for C1 on this property to allow more local commercial to kind of help serve this Marley Neck area, but without the intensive uses of C4. This would require a planned land use change to commercial. And the only other area, I kind of talked about consistency changes in this area. If you'll zoom out really quick, the only other one is I want to go to the American Legion site real quick. American Legion, if you're familiar with Solly Park, right there, yeah. This has W3 zoning currently. This did not come in as an application. This is a recommendation, a staff recommendation that we're making to remove that heavy industrial. It's our heaviest industrial zone on that site. Our thinking is if the American Legion ever were to sell this site, this is not where we would want heavy industrial in the middle of the park essentially and on the water there. Our recommendation was to reclassify that as W1 zoning that would allow the American Legion use to continue by right, and it would also allow future certain water dependent facilities to happen there by right, and it would kind of eliminate that some of those most intensive heavy industrial uses in this location. Again, they would get a letter to this effect and would have an opportunity to respond before all of this goes to planning advisory board. So those are the two changes. There's a planned land use change that I'll just make note of. It's kind of at the intersection of Marley Neck Boulevard and Marley Neck Road, which is not confusing at all. Which is further to the south, that kind of fork in the road there. That there have been changes back and forth on that, but there's a development plan now for that, and we're recommending medium density residential that conforms to the development proposal that exists for that site, but it does not need a zoning change. So those three things in a nutshell. Discussion.
I think we've got to go to that first one that we had a special request for.
Yeah.
To look at that.
Mhm.
So C1, which is your recommendation, right?
Mhm.
That would allow for a daycare, possibly there. Grocery store. I was looking at, let's see, one, it says grocery store, bakery, or childcare.
Yeah, that's a very
Very
Yeah,
limited.
that list is real short.
Yeah.
yes. Civic facilities, private clubs,
Thanks. C1.
deli and snack bar.
Yeah, I think C1 sounds good to me for that.
I mean, C3 is more intensive zoning category, and it may be worth discussing if you think that's an appropriate.
Bar wash, department stores.
Sorry, is the owner requesting C3 or C4?
C4 is what.
But they said C3 or. It's not okay.
You said you'd like C4, but you asked for C3.
I could have my dream, I would love C4 because then it has the most possibilities. I've been communicating with the residents. I've been to a meeting, I've heard a lot of requests, and a gas station would be a great idea there. I realize that I am trying to develop property in Anne Arundel County, and it's C4 is probably asking too much. So C3 is my ask this evening. Because it just allows me to explore what my options are and what the community would like me to do with it.
What is the recommendation?
Our initial had been C1, but you all may disagree with that.
How big is the property?
It's an acre.
An acre?
And
Yeah, I can go to.
Can you turn on the
How
critical
big is
area?
the property?
C3.
An acre.
This is
It's just 1 acre.
0025, right?
So we're just talking about 1 acre.
Yeah, but she was back.
somebody
owns.
43,560 square feet.
Here's the.
Let's see. It just looks fine the way it is.
It's ugly. What's around it?
Just
Like, what's
kidding.
across the street and-
Sure,
It's
so
largely, to the right is.
undeveloped.
there's a little cemetery across the
See.
street and largely undeveloped otherwise.
But it's all zoned.
The
R5
applicant was correct, and you have to drive forever to get to a grocery store, to a gas station, to anything, because you gotta go out to Fort Smallwood Road or down to Ritchie Highway across Marley. So there's not a whole lot, and I guess because it's Tanner, when are they ever gonna do their commercial section? They have commercial area.
I guess I'm thinking if I had a heavily residential, if I was in a heavily residential area, I would not want a gas station next to it. I think there are, environmental issues related to having a gas station really close to residential. So I think some services would be more appropriate. 1 acre near a heavily residential area.
Special
Wouldn't it be, if the gas station was put there, and that's still, yeah, right? Wouldn't there be environmental studies that go along with that proposal?
Yeah.
Special exception, you do C3, you do with certain criteria. You can do a gas station.
I just don't think it's a healthy thing to have a gas station really close to residential.
As of now, it's all.
Aren't they gonna be
undeveloped
limited to
though.
15% of
And
it?
there's-
Right, it's a 1 acre site in the LDN.
So, I'm looking at the permitted uses for C1, grocery stores are not allowed in C1, but pharmacies are.
It
And
says grocery
other,
stores,
I know,
okay.
I don't know why we have that on
Okay,
that.
all right. A pharmacy,
Pharmacies are,
urgent care.
retail specialty stores, so like bookstores, office supply, like that kind of stuff, retail stores are allowed. So it's smaller retail in C1.
What about like an urgent care thing?
Um,
That would require C3.
Yeah, I don't see that under.
Medical.
Well, it says medical or dental stores and laboratories, including assembly of component parts, fabrication and repair services is allowed under C1. I don't know where urgent care would fall.
I thought urgent care was under C2.
Sorry, it's just under office professional. and general.
Okay, so that's allowed in only C2? Or
No, they call it
C1?
commercial. Give me a moment.
So essentially what we're discussing here is
Looking.
whether there should be something in between
In between the C.
C3 and C1.
Yeah,
That's
and
the reasoning, like,
to clarify, the C1 does allow grocery stores, but only up to a maximum of 25,000 square feet. So slightly larger can go into C2 with
That's like-
35,000 square feet, and then larger grocery stores still in C3 or C4.
So just to circle back, offices are allowed in all 4 commercial zones.
How about C2?
Yeah, C2 is more office uses.
But it could be medical.
It could be childcare though, it could
It
be,
could be childcare, it could be medical services. Those are probably the ones that you want the closest. I mean, it is nice to have gas, but not to have the gas station right near your neighborhood.
Well, let's take a vote. Don't forget it has non-conforming use right now for C4 use.
C4.
You're actually you're taking C4 possibilities away from this company. And
Why
what
does it have non-conforming use? It doesn't have a use on it besides.
It has a-
Is there a use on it?
Yeah, it's a contractor storage yard. According to the record.
But it don't look like it's been in continuous use.
sure, once every 12 months it is, right?
Well, we've had a hard time keeping anything there because of crime.
Technically, after 12 months of non-use, it doesn't have a right to use anymore, so I don't know how long a long time. But
I think we still have things there.
the registered no. There's a use, just
As a contractor,
there's a
This,
contractor operating. out of it?
this image is from 2021.
we are, yeah.
Yeah,
This
it's
is a little
2021.
old. So
Just wanted to clarify, because that sounded like you were saying it was, so I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew what the status is. So there is currently a contractor's establishment operating out of the site.
Yeah, I have a non-conforming.
No, I know the non-conforming use, I have it up, I'm just asking.
It's our contractor's yard, so we can keep auxiliary equipment there. And we've tried to, we take things in and out.
I'm really not saying you are or aren't, the question was raised, I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
you knew, because it sounded, I thought
The problem has been,
thought I heard you
it's
say there wasn't
unprotected and been a lot of
anybody
that.
there, so.
Used to be, better.
Okay, so are we ready to vote?
Let's do it.
No?
Well, what's your recommendation with C1, right?
But just to be clear, if we vote C3, that takes away whatever use they had before, right? Not.
Well,
The options provided by C3 incentivize the opportunities to redevelop the property and in the minds of the property owners that will more than offset the loss of whatever rights they might have as a non-conforming C4.
Understood.
What he said.
All right. Ready to vote?
What the options are.
Well, right
OPZ's
now, it's C1, right?
No, stay R5.
Right now
R5
it's
is what it
R5.
is.
No, I mean, they're recommending C1.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
says
I'm-
OPC's recommendation of C1 or C3.
C3, yeah, or C3.
Those are the two options in front of us.
Or retain R5.
Or retain our fund.
There we go.
So let's see, all those in favor of taking OPC's recommendation of C1? All those in favor of C3? Okay. All those in favor of R5? Is that right?
That was it. Okay, good. And the American Legion site, would you all agree with our recommendation? for
What's next to the
W1 on that?
Legion site? Is that a park?
Up here, you mean?
No,
No, that little parking
open
lot.
space.
Oh, yeah, this is all part of the park. This is just like a parking lot for like going into the, if you're like a boat launch.
Put-in area.
Yeah, but it's all parked right now.
But W1 allows the Legion and keeps it away from high density. It's
Some of the heaviest industrial.
It's a no-brainer.
better for the marina than anything else if the Legion ever wanted to sell.
Yes.
Oh.
Reserved till 8:30.
All right, we are.
Oh, yeah, we have
Um,
way here.
We can do one more vote.
But for marina,
But sure, that's, but they're.
well, no, it's just a discussion, you know, that would be a marina zoning versus W1. I'd rather see a marina there.
Yeah.
How can you do, you can't do, that's a total.
I can't look at it.
Situation.
The only.
What are you doing, the waterfront of W1?
To have, W1 would not allow for a marina, is that correct?
Right.
Yeah, there's a use in the code. Bear with me 1 second, I think it was like merit. It surprised us all. We didn't realize it was a W1 when we started to do this research, but it's.
But right now it's used as an American Legion like area or
Mhm.
building.
And this is not a request that they made, this is our recommendation, just to remove the heavy industrial.
Yeah.
In case they would ever sell.
Totally agree.
Exactly.
Yeah. Definitely.
So water dependent facilities means those structures or works associated with industrial, maritime, recreational, educational, or fisheries activities that require location at or near the shoreline within the buffer specified in COMAR. So it could potentially, it's not defined anywhere other than in COMAR. This is I pulled from the state code. We don't define it in our own code. It could potentially, but that would not necessarily be a bad use of waterfront property, so, yeah.
You could, so possibly under W1, they could possibly use it as marina, or they go back and do a zoning change somewhere down the road.
Yeah, even currently, even if it does get the W one.
I think it's good to go to W, my opinion is go to W1 on it to protect it. I mean,
And it's a
because,
recommendation.
yep, and their recommendation.
All right.
Yep.
So all those in favor of accepting OPC's recommendation in W1?
And there's no application.
Left
They'll
over.
still be notified.
Well, if we wanna push through, we have 10 minutes, they have to lock the building.
Yeah, we.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of overlimited anyway.
Yeah, I don't think we're
Even
gonna
if it's
finish
short
all of
meeting.
this.
I think we have just enough time to sing to Andrew.
Yeah, we can turn off the recording for that.
Not necessarily.
Plan land use change or how did you?
Oh, did you all concur with the planned land use change at the corner of Marley Neck Boulevard and Marley Neck Road? Just changing the planned land use to medium density residential. It doesn't change the zoning is in place, it just brings it. In alignment with that. Okay,
All those in
I see
favor?
consensus. Yeah.
Thank
All right, we do have two more areas that are kind of lower Marley Neck area and then kind of southern Glen Burnie area. And
You wanna do Zoom? If it's only two?
Yeah, but I say, can we do a WebEx or Zoom for those two?
we can do
How
that.
many are there?
Not that many, well,
Not many.
probably like.
Why don't we send out a doodle poll and schedule a time for that? I would also, we still owe you all meeting notes from the last two meetings that we have not yet gotten you. I want to give those to you and like, let you have a look at those because we're trying to kind of faithfully record these conversations. So we'll get that to you, doodle poll, and we'll schedule a time for a Zoom.
Did you get an opportunity to see what's going on the chart? On the chart, like Region 4 has a chart for what the sheriff, what we, like each time it
Oh.
went. So do we get to view what you're putting as the comments from what our group did
Yeah,
before they go on the chart?
we're filling that. Yes, it'll be in the meeting notes. That will be where, and then we're gonna take from that and put it into the chart that you're talking about, yeah.
All right.
All right.
Did we do that?
You did a great job. I mean, this is intense. Well, thank you.
Want to take a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Oh, this is kind of similar.
I am sure.